The Shaw pen ruling machine was used to produce copybooks and ledgers. It was invented in 1930 and was worked by electricity or hand.
This is a Shaw 3-carriage pen ruling machine. The function of this machine is to produce sheets of paper that can be used in account books, journals, ledgers and that sort of book. It is mainly made from wood and brass because the inks we use are corrosive. The brass and wood don't corrode so easily. The machine, first recorded version of this machine was in 1826 in Paris. In England they started to produce these machines, Shaw's of Honley near Huddersfield, in 1890, and this machine has evolved from those early machines. The parts of the machine are the carriages which hold the pens. We have flannel acting as an ink reservoir and brass pens. Again, they don't corrode. The blanket, as we call it, the carrier, is made from moleskin, a very absorbent material. That takes the sheets to the end of the machine and then they're transferred to threads, and the threads take the paper to the delivery box. The machine can do about 1,000 sheets in half an hour, and they have to be reversed and backed up, in other words ruled on the opposite side, and then if extra patterns are required they go in again. So this machine can produce certain patterns, but the sheets of paper often travel 4 times through the machine to be completed. An important part of the machine is the machine feeder, and there's always been a lady, and they have their own skill. They know they can actually help you watch the work as it goes through. If you're doing something else, they can warn you something is going wrong because they really know their job, and they have an interest in the end product as well as the actual ruler. A good machine feeder is invaluable, and you can build up a relationship with them. Sometimes it's a love-hate relationship, but sometimes it can be a very good relationship. I had a machine feeder once, and she used to knit me Ireland sweaters for my birthday, and I really liked her. So, you know, because in between times the machine feeder didn't really do any other job. She was a machine feeder solely, and she would sit away while the machine was being made ready and set up for the next run, and that's when she knit my Ireland sweaters. But this was sort of acceptable by management because that was the way it worked. So a good machine feeder is invaluable. I'm going to set up a simple ruling pattern using this set of brass pens. I'll place them in the slot here and tighten them up. Check that they're bearing with the same pressure on the paper and test them. Now I'll apply the flannel, which is the ink reservoir. Important that you get the right amount of flannel for the job you're doing, and that it's applied into a nice neat pad. I'll just frame it up with some ink, load it. Check that there's no drips coming from it. And we'll test it again. That looks okay. I'm getting a good ink flow. And Pat's going to feed the machine now with a test sheet. And we have the pattern of ruling. I worked on the stock control book for chivers, jams and jellies, and the customer required a colour for each of his products. He wanted green for green gauge, red for raspberry, purple for blackberry, and so on. And that took some doing. But this machine is capable of doing that type of thing. And through layering your flannels and putting sheets of heavy paper between it, you can actually have one colour over the other. And you can do this on this particular machine. That's its advantage over printing machines. It can do it in one run, whereas printing machines you might have to do a couple of runs. The job is a very challenging job. I'll never forget it. I lost my hair through doing that job. But anyway, it can be done on this machine. It looks a very simple and basic machine, but it is versatile. This book is an example of a finished product in ruling. We have this page, this folio, ruled in two colours, red and blue. We have a cross line here, which acts as a stop for the down rules. This sheet has passed through a pen ruling machine 4 times to achieve this finish of this effect.
After it'll be ruled, it'll come over to our department on a big pallet, and it'll be a big raw sheet of paper. It wouldn't be that size, it'd be bigger, and we would be told to fold them. And I'd have to get them and fold them. Maybe in that type of paper it'd be only about 3 or 4 because it's so thick, but I'd have to fold them like that, fold them. And then it all depends on many stays. Now, one of those is a stay, and I'd say there's about 15 in that. So I'd have to fold 15 of them and then send it over to the girl that would do the numbers, and then it'll be sent up to the binders, and he would glue up the back of it, and then he'd do this lettering. Not all ledgers would have that, but most of them. You have to do all that. So the binder would be after gluing it and doing all that. And the next thing then, this here is called an end paper, which is completely different to the book itself. But I'd be after hand sewing it, sending it to the binder, and then sewing the end papers on. Now the end paper would act as a kind of what you would see normally is a hinge on the door. So that's what the end paper was for. So it was to hold the book to the cover. So then the binder would get it. Well, he wouldn't be going to the cover yet because he'd have to do the marbling, which you can see there. That marbling would have to be done. Now he'd have a big dish and he'd have all his coloured marbling, and he'd get a piece of wood and do that with it. You can see the way he would have done the colours. Now he would do that with it, and then he'd get the book and he'd dip it in, and then he'd do it down this side and the other side, and that's called a marbling. And then he would decide then to bind the book